Welcome friends to a review on the 2025 Bentley Flying Spur Speed. This is also the first edition model, and the big highlight here is the fact that these vehicles are powered by a plug-in hybrid V8 powertrain. I've already tested this power plant in the new Continental GT Speed, and I have to say it was quite the rocket. But a special thank you to Bentley of High Point, North Carolina for giving me this opportunity. This is the first Bentley dealership in the United States, so if you're interested in this vehicle or any other Bentley product, you may contact Chris Rivas. I will have his phone number on the screen and in the description box for you to contact, and this dealership is able to ship nationwide. All right, so a couple of things to note before we set off. I really want to see how this sedan handles because as you see it here, this Flying Spur, it weighs 5,833 pounds. That's about 100 pounds heavier than something like a Ford Raptor pickup truck. Yeah, no exaggeration. The Continental GT that I previously did a test on, that weighed about 400 pounds less than what you see here. And I have to say, with all of the advanced suspension and chassis tech that Bentley has implemented here, that vehicle actually drove great. But this weighs a bit more, so I'm very curious to see how it does in the corners. Regardless of that, for 2025, the Flying Spur does receive some subtle updates to the bumpers, the grille, and we also get some new 22-inch wheels, but not a dramatic update to the looks. In fact, it looks very similar to the previous 2024 model. The main update and highlight here is definitely with that plug-in hybrid V8 powertrain producing 771 horsepower and 738 pounds-feet of torque. Does 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. Bentley claims that this is their first four-door supercar. This vehicle has a top speed of about 177 miles per hour. So yes, compared to the previous W12, this is certainly quicker. And according to the EU testing cycle, this plug-in hybrid, it can do about 47 miles of pure EV range. And with that established, let's go ahead and let's get this vehicle out on the road and let's see how it does. Okay, starting this review off, I'm going to put this vehicle into its comfort mode because the modes in these Bentley products, they do genuinely make a big difference. Typically, when you have a high curb weight vehicle like this, you can notice that the vehicle could tend to crash over the bumps, but that is absolutely not the case with this all-new Flying Spur. And we even have here massive 22-inch wheels wrapped in 275 wide tires in the front and 315s in the back, but the ride quality is just so sublime. Part of the reason for that is because Bentley has implemented some of the most advanced suspension and chassis technology. We have here the air suspension with the twin valve dampers. We also have proper suspension architecture like aluminum double wishbones in the front and aluminum multi-links in the rear. And compared to the Continental, yes, this does ride just a bit better than that coupe. Yeah, some of these larger impacts, you don't even feel it. Very impressive. I mean, cars like this, they just take away all of the stress in driving. Your blood pressure, it just drops immediately, no matter what's going on out on the road. These vehicles, they are just so tranquil and relaxing to drive. Brakes feel good, and also we have a balanced Bentley setting that we can put this vehicle into, but I'm about to turn on to some of these back roads here, so I'm actually going to put it into the sport mode, and immediately that V8 engine, it roars to life. So far we were actually in the pure EV drive mode, so now we're really going to be testing out that engine here, although I'm not going to go too crazy with it because this is a true dealership unit. The previous Continental I drove, that was actually a press car supplied by Bentley Corporate for testing purposes, so I was able to really floor it there. Here we're just going to go half throttle, but I just love that bassy tone that this twin turbo V8 has. I was a big fan of the W12, of course, but with the W12, what they did over the years is they actually hushed that engine. They actually just made it quieter over the years. This V8 is not only quicker, but in my opinion, it just sounds better straight from the factory. Vehicle just catapults off without any issues. Sounds amazing while doing it. And you're just getting up to ridiculous speeds in no time. But due to how isolated and quiet this car is, you hardly even feel that speed. And like one would expect, this Flying Spur, it's actually a bit quieter still compared to the Continental I drove. I'm getting just a tad bit less tire noise. And of course, wind noise is just non-existent with all of these Bentleys because we have such thick double pane glass being used on the sides. And we also have the 8-speed dual clutch transmission. Provides you with not only quick snappy shifts, but the shifting is smooth. But in the corners, I have to say that high curb weight, it means absolutely nothing. Once again, it comes down to the suspension technology and of course the chassis updates as well. Like we have here the active all-wheel steer, we have the electronic limited slip differential, torque vectoring, and much more. I mean, all of this technology, it works together to really mask that curb weight from you. And in the sport mode, you do notice things tightening up. However, the ride quality doesn't really become that much more stiff. The vehicle just communicates with you the fact that you're driving over some smaller impacts, but inside of the cabin, even in the sport mode, you barely even feel it. But once again, my most favorite setting is the balanced Bentley mode. That's a good mode for daily driving, or just simply put into the comfort because yes, the ride quality does soften up just a bit more in that comfort setting. But more importantly, this plug-in hybrid drivetrain, I mean, it just feels so smooth. Even though this is the first model year that they have implemented this powertrain, everything just works flawlessly. The way the engine just cuts on and off. I also like the steering weight here. It's not too heavy, it's not too light, it's just right where it needs to be. Sure, it's void of some feedback, but then again, do you care about steering feedback in a Bentley product? I don't think so. And a lot of people say that, you know, the high curb weight of a Bentley doesn't really matter. And I would have to agree with you, but more importantly, it's the way this vehicle is masking everything from you. I mean, you simply just don't feel anything. You just glide over all of the road impacts. It handles well in the corners. And the car just feels natural to drive at all times. You don't realize that all of this electronic trickery is working in the background. Despite having this all-wheel steer and the electronic limited slip differentials and the other suspension and chassis technology, you don't really notice it. The whole driving experience is normal and natural. But then again, you would expect this uncompromised driving quality in a vehicle that stickers for about $335,000. That is the MSRP of this sedan. I believe the starting price for the 2025 Flying Spur Speed, it's around $272,000. We have here the first edition package, things like the name audio system. That's what's really inflating the price here. But you know, if you're someone who's blessed enough to run a lucrative business and you need a vehicle that costs this much for some type of a write-off purpose, I mean, you can obviously talk to your accountants about that, but I'm just saying that's the reality here. You are not going to be disappointed with the Flying Spur. You're going to be really impressed here with what this car has to offer. I would say the only real cons that I've noticed driving the Flying Spur would be the blind spot in the rear. That C-pillar, it does kind of block your vision a bit. That's the only real con I've noticed. Otherwise, great experience. Let's go ahead and let's transition into this interior segment now. All right, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space. So not much has changed in terms of the design of this cabin compared to the previous 2024 Flying Spur. We still have that very cool 12.3-inch display, which can swivel, and it has 3 different faces on it. One of my all-time favorite features for sure. The Continental also has this. But they have given us a wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto for this 2025 model year. They've also implemented some wellness features like air bladders that work on all 4 seats to help reduce fatigue on long journeys. Plus, similar to the 2025 Continental, we also have here this new type of 3D stitch work on the door panel. That just adds another level of depth to the interior cabin. And of course, like one would expect, this interior, it's built like a tank, and you're just shrouded in the best materials possible, top tier leather, real wood, all of that. And I have to say, this is one of the few vehicles where I don't mind the piano black finish, because I don't know what it is that Bentley applies here, some type of a unique lacquering or other type of coating, but you don't really notice this piano black getting all smudged up. Very impressive. Sure, some of the dust particles can show, but overall, this finish looks great. The 12.3-inch infotainment screen, that responds rather quickly. No issues there, it's easy to use. And we also have here the optional NAME audio system. Top tier audio system, one of the best that I've ever listened to. The sharpness, the detail, the clarity, I mean, all of that is superb, and you have nice, powerful, clean bass as well. I mean, again, you know, as one would expect, but I have to say, even the Bang & Olufsen that I tried in the Bentayga, which is now in the showroom, that also sounded great, to be honest with you. But I would say that the NAME does edge out the Bang & Olufsen just a little bit, but I'm happy with either one of these audio systems. And even on the bass level audio system, I like the tone of it, it's nice and soothing. So well done there, but still, I don't really think Bentley should be offering 3 different audio systems. At most, it should only be like 2. But we have all the features that one would expect, like the heated and cooled seats, the massaging seats, the 360 camera, heated steering wheel. The ergonomics here are great. I mean, I'm 5'11", getting in and out, that's not an issue. And if you're much taller, I mean, just put the seat down much further if you want. And everybody's favorite, the physical buttons and switches. It's all elegantly implemented in the center console here. I like the big B logo on the gear shifter. We also have a wireless charging pad here, along with a very nice Bentley clock. We also have like this dual sunroof setup here with a very nice kind of a suede headlining material. And in the back, I can easily sit behind myself, as one would expect out of a full-size sedan. And you also have your privacy shades in the rear, vanity mirrors, your own HVAC to play with, and of course all of the massaging settings, the wellness, the heated and cooled seats. You have all that in the rear. But I will say, one of the biggest compromises regarding the new plug-in hybrid Flying Spur, it's certainly going to be with the trunk space. I believe when you convert the liters into cubic feet, I believe the trunk of this, it's about 12.2 cubic feet, which is not very large. The Continental, it had like a 9 point something cubic feet trunk. So yes, due to the electric battery packs, your cargo capacity has been reduced. That is something to note. Although it's still a useful trunk space, right? You can still put things in it. That's not a problem. That's my look at the interior of the 2025 Flying Spur. Very similar to the previous generation. But then again, that's not a bad thing, considering the fact that the Bentley interiors have almost always been some of my most favorite automotive interiors due to the design, the layout, the beautiful leather and stitch work. I mean, it is simply a true honor and privilege to spend time in. And things like the all-new 3D stitching, that just elevates the cabin even more. But with that established, let's go ahead and let's conclude this review. Concluding thoughts on the 2025 Bentley Flying Spur. Regarding the drive, it was simply flawless. And of course, as one would expect out of a near 800 horsepower automobile, the straight line performance is incredible. But more importantly, it's the smoothness of this V8 plug-in hybrid powertrain that really impressed me. There was never any mishaps. Everything responded as it should. The 8-speed dual clutch that provides us with lightning fast shifts while being smooth at the same time. Despite the 5,800 pound curb weight, the air suspension with the twin valve dampers and the other chassis slash suspension tech really kept that weight at bay. In the corners, the vehicle felt leveled and the vehicle was always comfortable. And I of course love that active all-wheel steer. I mean, that just allows these long wheelbase products to simply pivot around the corners, and it makes your everyday parking so much easier. But then again, you expect all of these flawless qualities out of a vehicle that costs well over $300,000. But as mentioned before, there were a few cons that I noticed, like the C-pillar in the back. It can kind of block your view when you're looking out the back, and due to the plug-in hybrid battery packs, your trunk size, it has shrunk just a bit, but it's still a usable trunk. Don't get me wrong, it's just that it's smaller than it was for the previous model year. And one other thing to note, it's with the Bentley logo on the front hood, similar to Rolls-Royce. you can go into the infotainment and you can allow the Bentley logo to rise or to conceal itself, which is cool. I love that. However, when you're driving the car, you cannot see that B logo on the hood. That is so unfortunate. You know, vehicles like the Mercedes S-Class, Rolls-Royces, that have these emblems that stick up on the hood. It is so satisfying to see that logo while you are driving, and you just can't do that with the Flying Spur, which is disappointing, but I suppose it's not a big deal. I just thought I would mention it. Regardless though, the interior space, it's genuinely one of my most favorites in just about any car due to the design, the materials, the stitchwork. I mean, it's simply a feast for your eyes, and that leather aroma that you get when you step inside of these new Bentleys, that is just peak. The model I'm testing in this video, it is the first edition speed model. So with that first edition package, you'll see that on the window sticker, the package costs about $42,000. It essentially bundles together all of the popular Bentley packages, and that also includes the name audio system, which the name audio alone costs about $9,000 to $10,000, but it is well worth it. And when you naturally get these first edition models, you will be getting the name audio. So overall, great sedan. If you're interested in this vehicle, you may contact Bentley of High Point, North Carolina. Once again, this is the first Bentley dealership ever in the United States. So it's fitting that if you want to purchase the first edition Flying Spur Speed, then you can purchase from the first Bentley dealership ever in the US. I will have Chris Rivas and his phone number on the screen and in the description box for you to contact, and this dealership is able to ship nationwide. Chris Rivas also runs an exotic car rental company in both Charlotte, North Carolina and in Miami, Florida. So if you're interested in renting Lamborghinis, Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, Ferraris, etc., I will have Chris Rivas' Instagram page also linked in the description box below. And you can also build these Bentley vehicles. So if you want to place a custom order with Bentley of High Point, you can also do that, because there's almost an infinite amount of possibilities in the way that you can configure these Bentley vehicles. And with that, if you found value with this review, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.